Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max.
Welcome, everyone. We are the Geek Patrol, and our microphones don't have a stun setting. Today, we're joining you from an abandoned clown college. I mean, the horror movie writes itself here, Allan. It's like...
yeah, it's pretty... That tracks.
The basement.
Pretty much sounds exactly where we're going to end up.
The hard part is walking through the entire building devoted to my sister.
Oh. Gets a little sentimental, man. Right?
Yeah, flashbacks.
So, yeah. Okay. Brandon, this is right in your wheelhouse. I mean,
no, it's not.
Okay.
I have had chlorophobia since I was 4 years old. This is not my place.
It's called confrontational therapy.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
We're helping
Well, no,
you.
see, the problem is that it's actually what it's called is an assault charge, Joe. As I grew into adulthood, it went from being an irrational fear to an irrational, aggression. And, I don't...
So when
you aim
something
for the
pops
nose,
up, I'm waiting to see where Brandon puts in the new door.
You aim for the nose, and you hear, you get the sound effect.
Like I said, the story writes itself. But anyway, welcome to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson, here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Allan Gilbreth, and our buddy Max over there behind the glass. And a special guest, let's just throw him out there. Let's throw him into the water.
Oh, yeah. There's a bus.
Our pal... Josh Mason is joining us because
it's going.
He's joining us in one of those little clown cars.
Exactly.
That's right. That's what I drove here in. Yeah.
He rolled in because Josh. Boy, now you waited till the last minute to get in here, but next weekend is the 3rd annual Covington Comic Con.
That is correct.
August 12th and 13th.
Yes,
and
super excited about it. Yeah, so it's our 3rd year doing it. We're going to have some great guests, as always. It's going to be at the Covington Civic Center in Covington, Tennessee.
Yeah.
And so we're going to have Jeffrey Nodelman's going to be back. He was an animator on the Batman, the animated series. And then we've got Santiago Cirillo, who I know y'all all know from Walking Dead.
Yeah. We've met.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Josh, put a pin in the commercial. We're going to get to your segment in a minute.
Let him have it now. We're going to have to remind people
from
later.
you, Joe.
You know how I love to promote, Joe.
He's looking at the clock. Okay, we'll get you. You're going to get your shameless promotion in, so don't worry. But
I can't believe you shut down promotion.
Can't shut down promotion, Joe.
I'm all about setting the table properly here. So, but Brandon, I was gonna throw it to you because in a minute, let's just get to it now. You had sort of a topic that, Josh, you're the perfect person to round table with.
You're the greatest guest to have here for this.
And let's start. Let's go
all
ahead,
right,
Brandon.
all right. We all know about my home troubles this year. And while I was displaced while they were rebuilding the house from the flood,
3 months out of your home.
I missed Rex Manning Day, so I hadn't watched Empire Records yet this year. So I sat down the other day, and I was like, I got to watch this. And I start watching it, and I start thinking to myself, everything about this movie, if I see it in a modern movie, it agitates me. I don't want to watch it. This is garbage. But I'm addicted to this movie. It doesn't matter when it's on, where it's at. I can watch it on. They could do a sponsored donation fundraising PBS version of Empire Records. I'm going to watch the 4 hours it takes to watch this movie. And it got me thinking, we've all got those movies, that guilty pleasure or that comfort movie or song or TV show, that it doesn't matter what it is. You will sit down, if it's on, you will sit down and you will watch it all the way through.
Oh, yeah.
And I know yours isn't The Last Jedi.
No, 100% not. No. Which, speaking of, I have something I'll circle back to talk to you about Last Jedi. But no, for me, it would probably be like the first Transformers, Michael Bay. I always got to go with Michael Bay. That would be my comfort.
You say first Transformers, I immediately think, the 80s animated film.
Yes. Well, that one too. That would also be a good comfort movie. Yeah, that one, the first Back to the Future.
But I really want to get into the psychology of it, which is why we only allowed Allan in the studio today. Because other than that, he's going to take us back to stage plays in the 1400s that people watched on the regular.
Brandon, you said something critical because I think this is important to your premise. What you said was these are things that would normally irritate me in any other movie or show, but it doesn't bother you. In fact, you have to watch it. So it violates storytelling principles, and yet you love it.
Exactly.
Okay. Because I got one right that comes to mind for me, but yeah. And there's probably psychological reasons
and the thing is that how many times have you been watching a movie like that and you say, well, I watched such and such the other day, and someone looks at you and goes, you really like that?
Oh,
and you're
yeah,
like,
all
oh
the
yeah,
time.
and then you go to tell them why you like it, and you can't express why you like it so much.
I have a whole list of movies that I love that are just objectively bad films that like people just don't like,
Well,
and
yeah.
and I understand why they don't like them, but it doesn't change my opinion of it. It's like I still like it, you know, in spite of the fact they dislike
that's
it.
the No More Sorrows trilogy, right?
Yeah, exactly. 100% terrible film series, but I love it. You know, Allan loves it.
I'm a little fond of that one.
Yeah,
myself,
he's a little
so.
fond of that one. So,
And by the way, I can walk again now.
yeah.
So,
Oh, that's good. Yeah, it only took like 10 years.
Return of the Honey Badger.
Now you're making me analyze this stuff, Brand.
Well, that's the whole point of this, is to get your brain flowing on a Sunday morning.
I'll throw one out there. I watched it, and Josh, this will be interesting to you, maybe. Do you guys ever watch Comic Book the movie that Mark Hamill made? It was back in 2003 or something
I've never
like that.
heard of it.
It's a mockumentary.
Okay.
He goes to Comic Con with a bunch of people and whatever. It's okay. So it's all these famous cameos come in.
I have seen this, and I've watched it many times, and I do blame you for this, because this was the movie that you mentioned to me when we were first meeting, and we were talking about putting together the MCFC.
Right.
You were talking about how there's a little bit of inspiration from the downright stupidity that was in that movie, and I sat down and watched it. I was like, these are my people.
Well, this was back in the day. So basically, Mark Hamill's character is a guy named Don Swanson, and he's a comic book nerd, and he's an expert on Commander Courage, he's a 1940s character. They're making a modern movie update of him, and they want him to do the promotion, but it's a bunch of sleazy Hollywood types. They've changed the character. They've made him kind of awful, and it's a mockumentary, and they go to the whole thing is spent basically at Comic-Con, and it's really a bad movie. It is not well made, but I love it. I've watched it. I could quote every line in that movie. I don't know why. It's a comfort food movie, but it also sort of irritates you when you watch it. I don't know. So
It was the thing that the question popped into my head while I was watching Empire Records the other night, and I was just like, I could never explain to somebody why it is I like this movie, because by all facets of my being, I shouldn't.
Okay. Hey, all of us have one. I'm kind of shuddering to hear what Allan's is.
Mine's easy. Fifth Element.
Okay. Well, we got to unpack it. Max, you even have one that's Don't tell us.
I'm not going to tell you.
Because Max
I even have a little snippet from the movie.
Max has one that I question his sanity, because it is an awful movie. I mean, and yet I've heard he watched it.
Are Josh and I in it?
All right. So we're gonna continue our deep dive into that, and then we're going to talk to our buddy Josh Mason when we come back here on Geek Tank Radio.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. Captain Kirk just swung a flying leg kick through his radio. The Geek Patrol is back.
Okay. I mean,
This is where Allan critiques his technique. He's like, you should have put a little bit more core into it.
Yeah, you'll get it and go, oh, that was awful.
I mean,
You're going to break your knee.
Talk about overkill. And welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson, here with my friends Allan Gilbreth and our buddy Max behind the glass, and Brandon Olmstead, who I'm not looking at because I can see his evil stare boring a hole through the back of my head with that awful rejoinder. And our friend Josh Mason from the Covington Comic Con.
Yeah. So I'm going to tell you, this rejoinder didn't bother me at all.
Oh, okay. All right.
I will question our producer's choices, because he was talking about having a snippet from his movie, so I was expecting that instead of a rejoinder.
No, we do things properly around here.
No, you don't.
Hey, Josh, if you're just tuning in, folks, Josh is here because in a minute we're going to learn more about Covington Comic Con, the third annual Covington Comic Con, which Josh went from being a convention attendee to a convention supporter to now a full convention founder.
Because I'm crazy.
You didn't have no pain in your life.
Exactly.
He drank all the Kool-Aid and he wants more. Yeah. So, hey, but before the break, Brandon, you brought up sort of an interesting topic. I've really been mulling it over in my mind, and it was more or less why are there certain movies or maybe shows that we love? Objectively, they're just bad, but we don't care.
Well, no, that's the problem.
I mean,
they're not even just objectively bad. Some of them are amazing movies. Like Allan mentioned, The Fifth Element.
It's an amazing movie is not a big
It's an amazing
feat.
movie. But it is his comfort movie where if he comes in and it's the last 4.5 minutes, he's still going to watch it and then watch through the credits.
I just thought of another one, the 1993 Mario Brothers movie. I love it. Terrible movie. Everyone hates it.
Oh, it is truly epically bad.
Yeah, it's epically bad. I love the 1993
But I
Mario
would
Brothers
still
movie.
watch those two morons run through that thing.
Right.
Oh, my gosh.
Which actually makes me question a few things about you, Josh. Not about loving that movie, but some of the choices
Man,
you
that
made
movie
when you
had
made
some-
a sequel to this movie.
I did. And it was very successful, too. It was arguably better than that movie.
There-
If you'd
it's-
asked
no,
me.
arguably the bar was set
I
kind of
won't-
low.
I won't disagree with that at all.
But did you get Bob Hoskins? This is what I want to know.
Sadly, no.
Oh,
Sadly,
I had to check.
we tried.
But maybe it's I don't really know why, but maybe art connect. It's just really there's an emotional connection, whether it's well done or badly done.
Yeah.
I mean, there's got to be some psychological reason.
And I can kind of give the reason behind why I like my movie that I watch through. It's the 1994 obscure Chris Elliott film Cabin Boy, and you get such gems like this little clip.
Now, I know what you're thinking. What could be stranger than a big, fat-ass floating cupcake?
Can we say that on the
Yes, we're on the max, dude.
I don't even remember that one.
Yeah,
Is that the puppet
Cabin Boy
animation
was-
thing? Cabin Boy was a horrible movie.
Now, you know why I like it, though?
What?
I remember the way that we found the movie. I think it was at some, dollar store, and it was, in the DVD pile, and it's Cabin Boy, that's interesting. So we just picked it out, and we watched it, and we actually kind of enjoyed it.
Yeah, but Max, you watched this when you were a kid.
Exactly.
I don't know what your parents were thinking, but also,
Well, I don't think it's,
you have lower standards
I mean,
when you're younger. So
it's at this point, I've met Max's parents, and there's something wrong with his dad.
oh, they're an idiot. But the thing about Cabin Boy, it's funny because that movie has, I'd say, about 5 minutes of some of the funniest gags there are, and then the rest is just boring and.
But the thing
goes
is
on
it's like a
forever.
cult classic. It's like the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Mm-hmm.
There's people who like it that for the reason that it's terrible.
I guess that's what it is.
Well, nostalgia plays a big factor in a lot of that too. Just like the Mario movie I was saying that I liked. If I was to watch that now for the first time, I would hate it.
Yeah.
But because I watched it when I was a
You were a
kid, I
kid.
liked it.
Yeah.
That's got to be the connect. Okay, you just brought up something. Now, hang on. I think the common thread I'm hearing here is because even Comic Book the Movie, which is the one I'm going to, it's all about stuff I read as a kid. It's all about comic books and Don Swanson is basically, or Don Swan, that's his name, is basically a grown-up version of what I was when I was 9. So, okay.
Right.
And now I don't know where this lands with Allan,
I
because
have-
when he was a kid, they didn't even have movies.
I'm
They
gonna
had-
I'm gonna step back though, and I'm gonna tell you, I've seen that movie. I saw that movie 14 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, and it was all your fault. And the truth of the matter is, you're that character now.
Okay, you're talking about Comic Book the Movie.
Yeah, you're Don Swan now.
Go watch it, folks. You probably watch it for free on YouTube. But,
Oh, yeah.
all right, Allan. So the common thread that we're finding here is childhood, imprinting something on your childhood.
Well, and there is a huge study in Hollywood that was coming out just as the strikes were beginning about why Hollywood keeps making the same thing over and over and over again. And that's because we keep paying for the same thing over and over and over again, which is why a character like the Batman is so popular, is that every 10 to 15 years, he's the next generation's childhood reminisce. You saw a Batman movie 15 years ago. There's a new one coming out, or Superman, or a werewolf movie, or even at this point, a Godzilla movie.
Is that a similar premise to why they keep resurrecting Robin Hood every decade or so?
Well, it's a certain amount of comfort that comes with a character that you don't necessarily have to learn about.
Also, Robin Hood is in the
I
public
think we've
domain.
gone too
so-
far.
Right.
I think we've gone too far into the exposition behind it, and less about the fact that I still want to know more of what certain other individuals in this room, their other comfort things. Like, tell me a show you can't live without that
There's-
everybody else hates.
There's a show. Well, there's a that's a good one. Well, I don't know if you could say everybody hates it, but like the 1960s Spider-Man cartoon is objectively bad in terms of how it's made, and yet it's one of the greatest. That I will always watch that if it's on.
I liked the final season of Game of Thrones, which I know is a big. Most people hated it. I was like, I thought it was fine. I enjoyed it. You know.
Yeah, but you hated the Batman too.
That's true.
You and I are going to butt heads.
I mean,
It's all right.
What did you say, Max?
I was just kind of thinking, is this a similar premise? Like for me, it's like there are certain animes that are your favorite, but at the same time, they might not necessarily be the best. Like Violet Evergarden and Attack on Titan are top tier animes, but maybe one of them, like my favorite isn't among those.
Huh.
well, you think about the two of them you just hit. One of them is going to appeal to a certain audience. The other one's going to appeal to like the other end of the spectrum. But you appreciate the art behind them, so I mean, you're going to find the love in all.
If I'm going to make a armchair psychologist analyzation, though, if that's a word,
You'll have to wait until we come back from the break.
No,
I
think it's to do with childhood imprinting.
Nostalgia.
Nostalgia, all that stuff.
I'll counterpoint that in a minute.
Okay, we'll do that. And then, of course, we got to let Josh talk about the Covington Comic Con coming up. Never mind.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. Put the disintegrator down and step away from the radio. The Geek Patrol is back.
That's me with the controls. It's like, please let me destroy these controls.
There's a message. There's a theme evolving today. Radio destruction. We don't want that, man. Are you being sponsored by a radio manufacturer or something?
I can neither confirm nor deny.
I think Max is trying to gear up for a vacation.
I don't know.
I'm going to break this stuff if you don't let me take time off.
If there's no board, I can't work. You see the logic here, gentlemen?
Yeah.
Right. Speaking of logic, I'm gonna step away and I'm gonna counterpoint your idea that it's all about childhood.
Well, hold on. I didn't even tell people who are tuning in. Welcome back to Geek Tank
They
Radio,
know.
everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Allan Gilbreth and our buddy Max behind the glass and the interrupting Brandon Olmstead, and also our pal Josh Mason with the Covington Comic Con. And things are getting a little heated.
We're
gonna
spend 3 minutes of our 7-minute segment reintroducing everybody.
Well,
I always love the
we all
chaos every
know.
time I come on the show. It's just
Everybody
chaos,
knows.
and I love every second
But
of it.
AI will never replace this.
No,
Josh.
That's right.
Because you need artificial stupidity to take over for us.
People are always waking up and tuning in, Brandon. You gotta, Anyway, you had an interesting premise, and I feel like we didn't probe the psychological depths like we want to, but it was
Now he
basically
gets out the probes.
why do we all have these movies? They're pretty. There's usually a lot of flaws, or they're badly made, or something, and shows, and yet we love them, and we'll watch them every time if we come across them. We're gonna, or even go out of our way to watch them, and we've been sharing some of ours. Alan, the one you shared though is actually a good movie. You said
No,
The
it's
Fifth
not.
Element.
No,
Oh, is
it's
it?
not.
I've never seen it. So.
Partly
because-
That should disqualify for you from even hosting the show or being a guest or running a convention.
Well,
Oh my
I have a justified history. Brandon in the past has purposely recommended
I
movies
did.
that he knew I would hate, and now I'm traumatized, and I'm like, I don't
did.
trust your judgment at all.
I
And
did.
He thought it was funny to do that. and I'm like,
I thought it was hilarious to
I
send
wasted
him
good
and Laura
money.
Johnson to see Terminator Genesis.
yeah, and
I figured I had to sit through it. This could get some good fodder. Yeah,
Somebody-
it's great. Yeah,
it's fabulous.
But
Go
no,
watch
Joe,
this.
you mentioned the idea of it being rooted in our childhood. Now,
I think it
I
is.
won't deny that because Josh's Mario love comes from him being a kid. Max is 12, so it's like anything.
Right.
But I was 18 when I saw Empire Records.
that's still
Another
young enough,
show that is a show, an anime that is the same way for me is Trigun. I was an adult when I saw that.
Okay, I'm sorry. No, okay. Well, let me clarify. I was an adult when I saw Comic Book the movie. I was into my 30s or so, but it harkened back to things that were right out of my childhood.
Yeah, the
So
closest.
that's the
I was
thing,
gonna say the closest thing Empire Records has to my childhood is I did glue chains to the floor for someone to try and pick up before, and I love records.
Okay.
But nothing from Trigun is my childhood.
The thing is, though, is like it doesn't have to necessarily be rooted in childhood nostalgia. It could just be rooted in nostalgia. So the good, positive feelings that we associate it with the positive feelings that we had fill in the blank particular age.
I don't know.
Well,
Hey, Josh, when did Hellfest come out?
Oh, that's a great question that I do not know the answer to.
That's That's another one of
Hey,
them.
we have Google though.
That's another one of them. I can't. This movie should be one of those horror movies that I just left on the shelf.
Well,
And
it's like watching The Tire or
I will
something like
Well,
that.
Rubber's an amazing
That's
movie.
a great movie.
Come on, man.
Now, Brandon,
Rubber's the greatest movie ever.
There's probably, I don't know, a good 30 episodes of the variety of Star Treks out there that it's the same way. Like for me, in The Pale Moonlight, which is a Deep Space Nine episode, I could watch that episode and then rewatch it again. I never get tired of that episode.
Right.
And so,
but
I don't know.
the big questioning factor here is, can you explain to people why you like that episode?
No, because there's literally no act. There's not one fight scene. It's almost all talking, which is one of my big complaints. And yet it is brilliant. It's awesome. So,
see,
whatever.
and that's where the question lies. And I put it out to our audience, contact us. Let us know what yours is, and tell me if you can explain why it is you like this movie.
What is your pet poison?
And I'd like to conclude with a quote by Blaise Pascal, the famous philosopher, to answer your question. Okay. The heart has its reasons, which reason knows not.
Boom.
Oh,
Drop the mic.
Take your philosophy back to Tool Talk, Max.
All right, can't do any better than that, Max.
Wow.
Well done. Let's shift gears. Josh, we brought you in.
Let's grind the gears at this point.
It's interesting. Whenever you hit the year 3 of an event, it's like, where did the time go? Well, if you think about it, it's only 2 years difference. You have year 1 to year 2, which is 1 year. Then you get to year 3. It's only a 2-year span.
That's true. Yeah.
But in the span of 2 years, you're going on a number 3.
A third event. Right.
Third Covington Comic Con.
It's the new math.
And Josh, we didn't really introduce you very well. We've known you I've known you since the early days, since the 2012 Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention, where you came as an attendee.
That's right.
Within
my
a year
first
or
con
two,
ever.
You were volunteering, and soon you're in the thicket. We get a lot of you help us a lot with the Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention, but then you went off and started your own convention. So.
Yeah, so no, we're excited about it. It's weird this year because like I told you guys, I'm less stressed about it because it's the third year and we had a really successful first 2 years.
Oh, that happens.
So, but this year, we're going to be back at the Covington Civic Center. It's only $10 per day to get in, $15 if you want to do both days, both Saturday and Sunday. And we're going to have a lot of great guests back. Like I said, Jeffrey Nodelman, Santiago Cirillo, who's off The Walking Dead, and a lot of exciting things. We're going to have a game room this year. It's our first year doing a game room, so that's kind of exciting. Yeah. And unfortunately,
are you putting it in the basement?
No, we're putting it in the attic. We've got it upstairs.
That's awesome.
That's where it's going to be at.
Really?
So.
Better be air conditioned up there, Josh.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
AC throughout the whole building, trust me.
It's not the air conditioning, it's the air exchange.
Right, that's right.
It's a little funky in there.
They don't smell any worse than writers.
Yeah.
So you're adding that. That's cool.
Yeah, a lot of exciting
activities.
things to look forward to. We want it to move to a bigger location this year. However, a tornado swept through Covington and put it into that idea.
Yeah, it ate your bigger location.
It did. Yeah, the tornado literally ate the larger location. So we're back at the Civic Center, which is fine. It's still a great location. It was great to us last year, and it's still plenty of space. So,
Are they rebuilding that? Because I know at some point, Josh, you're going to have to get a bigger, just like they need a bigger boat, you need a bigger.
Well, there are discussions, without me saying too much, about some people that are in our inner circle potentially building a expo center in Tipton County. So that might be something that we're going to be looking at doing at some point.
Doesn't your brother own that city at this point?
At this point, between me and him, with all the businesses we own, I would say about 50% of the businesses are
and then about 25% belongs to his pig.
That's right.
Yeah, your brother Jerry Mason is the kicking lawyer. So as you're pulling into Covington, which is about 45 minutes from Memphis,
about 45 minutes away. Yeah,
you start seeing the billboards. You guys own
lots
that
of billboards. Pretty much. Yeah, we're called the Mason Mafia around Covington.
Covington's a quaint town. It's got that hometown feel, and it's a lot of fun. So we're gonna unpack that more when we come back here on Geek Tank Radio.
You are listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. May the odds be never in their favor. The Geek Patrol is back.
Probably for the best. I mean, you got to rein things in, and we don't want it to get out of hand.
That depends on how you stack the deck.
Let's just be honest. We're more like cockroaches. Nuclear war happens. We're going to still be here.
Oh, yeah. Okay, whatever that. Weird.
I'd like to see the post-apocalyptic radio station. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, okay. Whatever. Welcome back to...
the fact that Joe doesn't get that just makes me smile all the more.
I don't know how we got from the Hunger Games to cockroaches to broadcasting.
As Brandon, Josh, and I go, we got a podcast we got to do now.
Yeah, why don't we keep working here, folks? Welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody.
We're entertaining the masses.
I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Allan Gilbreth, our buddy Max over there behind the glass, and our good pal Josh Mason, founder of Covington Comic Con. Well, Josh, you wear many hats. You're also a filmmaker. You're also a longtime supporter and friend of the Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention.
That's right.
But you don't get to do as much filmmaking at Covington Comic Con, right? Because you're busy, right?
Right, yeah. It's the only con that, because, I always do these cosplay music videos at all the other cons, like at MCFC. And then my own convention is the one convention that I don't get to do a cosplay music video for because I'm too busy running the convention. So it's kind of ironic in a weird way. But yeah, no, I wear one or two hats. I do one or two things here or there.
Well, you got, so I'm assuming all the vendor space, everything's sold out.
Everything's, right? This is actually we measured it out yesterday. We were in the location measuring it out, and we have just enough space to fit everybody in, and we maxed out the vendor spaces. We have more vendors than we've ever had before, and awesome. We cannot accept anyone else because it's all sold out. So
you're just going to be in the parking lot,
right? Yeah. No, well, look, we were having those discussions yesterday. We were like, are we going to have to fit? But no, we got them all fit. Where everybody's inside, but we were for a second there getting a little worried because we were like, did we overbook? But no, we're good. Got plenty of space for everybody.
Yeah, but Josh, speaking of the parking lot, you have things actually happening outside too.
That's right. We have food trucks. We hope to have a couple of pop culture cars. I don't think we'll have as many this year because, as we discussed, our friends the Ghostbusters are having some mechanical issues with the Ecto 1. But I believe the Jurassic Park Jeep is still going to be there.
Cool.
And so we'll have some fun things going on outside for everybody too.
I like that you got food available, and plus you can walk the town square. That's what I like to do. Mm-hmm. You got to tell the ice cream shop to stay open this time, though.
Oh yeah, well, so Tara, who owns the ice cream shop, is one of the co-founders of the Comic Con, and so I'm sure she'll have things going on there. And then my brother owns the Cellar Restaurant, which is just off the square, and they're going to have some like after party type events going on with some musicians and things like that.
Oh, that's fun.
You can go over there and get your eat on and your drink on while listening to music after the Comic Con, and so plenty of stuff to keep people occupied both before and after the event.
And it's $10. I mean,
only $10. Super affordable price for everything, because it's essentially, if anybody's been to MCFC, it's sort of the same experience, only condensed down. So if you've been to MCFC and you've enjoyed MCFC, then I think you would enjoy our convention.
So, Josh, what have you learned in the last 2 years of organizing a convention? Like, what are things that you just mistakes you'll never repeat, and ones that you
see
getting a venue without air?
I would say yes. So that's definitely one. I would say
that's right. Year one, there was no air conditioning.
There was no air conditioner. Well, it was minimal air conditioner, so that was a big one. And then last year we had the audio issues where we had the panels in the same room as the vendor room,
right? And
the mics and acoustics were terrible. Yeah. We fixed that this year, so the panels are in their own separate rooms, separate from the vendor room. So that was a big one we learned. And then there was one lesson we learned where we had booked vendors and in spaces that were just slightly smaller than what we had originally planned, and so we fixed that, and we're like, no, whatever we promised the vendors is what they're getting, because we had one or two vendors that were a little upset with us over that. So it's always it's all a learning experience each time you do it, and you get better and better each year. So this year we've learned from our previous errors here and there and getting better, but everybody seems to have enjoyed the con the first 2 years, so I think we'll have
it's fun, man, and it's a good shopping experience too.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of comic book vendors. We got Marvin's Comics will be there, Loot's Collectibles out of Atoka, Hall of Heroes, a lot of the same ones we've had from previous years will be back.
Cool.
One thing I've noticed about with organizing an event, the one thing I've learned, Josh, for myself on a personal level is just time there is a relentless clock going, and you may think, before I go set up this room, I'm going to go talk to my buddy Cliff about, from the SCA. Right. You cannot do that. You cannot. No. Every minute has to be budgeted, and you can't drag your feet, because if that room ain't ready, you're in trouble. And then it messes you up for the next thing, and it's a snowball effect. And if you don't manage your time correctly,
it's lots of multitasking. And that first initial couple of hours of setup when the vendors are first arriving is probably the most chaotic. But we get through it, and I think it always turns out to be a really fun event for everybody. And the vendors have seemed to be happy the past couple of years, along with all the guests and attendees.
Yeah, they're selling some stuff, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting the things you learn though running one, and the things you learn about yourself.
Yeah, and one of the main things we try to do with our convention is we try to keep the vendor room as diverse as possible as far as the types of things we have. So it's got comic books, it's got arts and crafts, it's got your pop culture items, but we try to have something there for everybody. We don't want our vendor room to turn into just a same thing at every single booth.
Right.
And so that's something we really focused on this year, was making sure we had diversity across the types of items you can buy there.
You get a lot of people there. And it's, I'll tell you this. So if you're coming from Memphis, I love that drive. I like just jumping on, 51 and just cruising along. It's kind of out in the country a bit.
Yeah, if you stay on 51, you'll hit Covington whether you want to or not.
Yeah, you can't really get lost. That's right.
No, that's right. Yeah.
And then you bring people in from north. I mean, you get a lot of attendance for a small town convention.
Well, that was kind of the genius, I think, of it that we didn't realize was going to happen, but I think we were hoping would happen, which was the first 2 years we brought in people from Memphis, from Dyersburg, from Jackson, and so all these different communities that surround Covington, we pulled people in from all these different cities and towns, and it together combined made for a really busy comic convention. And so hopefully we can match that and do that again this year.
Hey, Josh, wait, give the dates. How do they get tickets?
Next weekend, August 12th and 13th. Tickets are available online now. If you go to Covington Comic Con website or Covington Comic Con on Facebook, you can purchase tickets there. And we also have a merch shop up where you can go ahead and buy your T-shirts and merchandise and things like that.
Yeah, you got an embroidered polo shirt.
Yeah.
That's pretty fancy, man. I don't have those.
You can even get one that's got a Budget Batman and Creepy Panda Guy, our mascots, on it. So.
Okay.
And that's where he loses us all.
Yeah. Thanks for that. Well, Josh, we can't wait, man. So we're less than a week. Well, no, we're a week away. Exactly. So we'll be there too, folks. Don't let that deter you. But and Allan, I would have to believe we'll probably have some swag. We'll have swag, Brandon, definitely promoting the convention.
I don't know anything about that.
All right. Whatever it is, is what it is. But
there's
guys,
candy and postcards.
We got to get out of here. The show's over. So until next week, we are the Geek Patrol, and I am Joe Thorderson.
I'm Allan Gilbreth.
I'm Maximilian.
I'm Josh Mason.
And I'm Brandon Olmsted, reminding you, don't judge us by our comfort movies, but stay away from Cabin Boy.